Hey guys, and while I'm on the subject of knife laws, let me show you some more knives that could be illegal. Really depends on where you are. Depends on the policeman even. Depends on what people think when they see it. Let me show you. Here's a little dagger. This is a handmade knife. Picked this up years ago. And I had a sheath made for it. I really love this sheath. I think the guy did an awesome job. The knife fits really securely in the sheath, even though there's nothing holding it because he molded it so nicely. I'm a little handicapped here today. My back's messing with me, so if I'm grunting and groaning, bear with me. Not the most beautiful knife in the world, right? So why would a tiny little knife like this, it's not very big, the edged part of it is really not very long. Why would a knife like this be illegal? Well, there's two things that make this knife illegal in a lot of places. It's a sheath knife. Some places you can't carry a sheath knife. And it's double-edged. It's considered a dagger. And it's only got one purpose. It's a self-defense knife. It's a knife that you'd use for a tactical response. You know, put this thing into a hammer grip, ice pick type grip, and plunge it into your assailant, and that's how you fend him off. It's not very sharp. It's got a terrible grind on it, to be honest with you. I mean, for a nice little handmade knife, it's not a great knife, but it's a neat little knife. But it could be illegal. This knife is a neat old knife. I've had this knife for about 20 years. This is a Hibbs design frost knife. It's really showing its patina and age, called the King of Hearts. I love this knife. I love the way it feels in my hand, everything about it. Again, it's a dagger. Now this knife, again, it's not very sharp at all. I mean, not at all. It's a stabbing weapon. Could be illegal because it's a sheath knife and because it's a dagger. Here's another knife. What could make this knife illegal? The length. It's a Bowie knife. Sometimes you can have a sheath knife as long as it's not over a certain length. So even if sheath knives are legal, you may not be able to sport around with your beautiful Damascus Bowie, the bone handles. No matter how much you like it, no matter how useful it is for chopping down brush, or camp work, or anything, it just might be illegal because it's too long and it's a sheath knife, even though it's only one side, and it's a utility type of knife. This is the knife that won the West, okay? But now they don't want you to carry them everywhere. Okay. Here's another edged weapon. Okay, it doesn't look like an edged weapon. It looks like a staff because I made it. It's a sword cane. You know, I mean, as long as nobody knows that there's a sword in it, I guess you could get away with walking around in it. But if somebody wanted to harass you about it, if they thought there was something hinky about it and they wanted to pull it out, they would see that there's a double-edged blade in there and that it's a weapon. And so it goes from being a walking stick to jail time. I can't pull that out right now with the camera in my hand. So there are some knives or some edged weapons that you just can't carry around. And of course there are many other things that can get you in trouble. You go walking around with a pair of these tucked in your back like Bruce Lee, and you could see the inside of a jail too. Why? You could carry around a stick in your hand, but you can't carry around two sticks with a chain connecting them. You can carry around a stick, but you can't carry around a stick that has a blade inside of it. You can carry a sheath knife in a lot of places, but maybe you just can't carry one this long. And of course, oh my gosh, it's a dagger, okay? Can't have that. So, just a little follow-up on how bad laws can make good people into criminals. You know, you might just feel like sporting around with your nunchucks today, but hey, guess what? You could get get in trouble with that. Okay, so here's the blade inside that cane, walking stick, whatever you want to call it. It's a nice piece of spring steel. It's not sharp at all. I mean, it's sharp enough you could cut through some foliage with it, or you could leave a laceration on somebody if you whacked them with it. But it's really a stabbing type weapon. And as you can see, spring steel, it's really flexible. But, again, double-edged, stabbing type weapon, hidden inside a piece of wood. Just imagine what kind of trouble that could get you in. Despite how useful this could be to protect your life. Okay? If you were walking down the street, you know, to have a nice big happy piece of Purple Heart and a sword, I think you'd be well armed. But you could also be spending some time behind bars. And then you got to ask yourself, what about things like this? Okay? You couldn't even cut a piece of paper with this thing. Yeah, cell-cast acrylic's pretty strong, you know, but it's not metal. It really doesn't have a cutting edge. But guess what? It looks like a sword. So what would happen if you were carrying this around? What would happen if you were carrying around a plastic sword? Is it a toy? Is it a collectible? Is it just a piece of art? Or is it a sword? Is it legal? Or is it illegal? You know what? I bet you that would be a matter. There would be some question in the court of law. And it would really depend on what you did with it, wouldn't it? So, what it boils down to, you know, in my perspective anyway, is that we have a whole lot of bad laws on the books. I'm totally against any kind of gun, knife, or weapon laws. I think that they go against our innate human rights. And, you know, people that look to the Constitution for protection are looking in the wrong place. You have to look in your own heart. And you have to think about what you are given when you're given your first breath of life. You know, you're given the right to defend that life, and by any means, you know, whether it's with your hands, your teeth, your feet, a knife, a stick, a rock, whatever, a gun, whatever. They're all just tools to accomplish the same end, which is to protect you and keep you alive. So any laws that hinder my ability to protect myself or my family, in my opinion, are bad laws. So how do you feel about that? Okay, and finally, what about swords? What about katanas or swords or replica swords or real swords or vintage swords or antique swords or any kind of sword or any kind of long-edged weapon? Yep, there's plenty of laws controlling them too, and I think they're bad laws too. Because, to be honest with you, if I had this thing in my truck, or even if I was just wearing it around on my hip, does this make me dangerous? It might make me look crazy. It might make people wonder what the heck's up with me. But, you know, this is a real fighting sword. This isn't a replica sword. This isn't a sword for, you know, like from Lord of the Rings or some crap. This is a sword that I've had since 1988. It's made of D2. It's heavy as hell, I'll be honest with you. And the condition my back is in, I am not going to be demoing this baby. This kind of sword was designed to fight men in armor. It was not really designed to be a sharp-edged weapon for cutting. It was designed to dent their armor and fold it in against their bodies and incapacitate them. You know, I've put an edge on this with a file from about here to here. I didn't want to mess with the tip of it. And this is sharp enough to cut through a sapling or you know, about a tree about this big around with a swipe because it's so heavy. But is this something that I should be worried about being illegal? I mean, I don't understand. That's, I guess, the gist of why I'm calling all these kind of laws bad laws. I don't see how something like this is more dangerous than a little pocket knife. By the time I got this thing unsheathed and into play, I would have been stabbed 10 or 12 times by an assailant. It's too long to fight with somebody. It's too heavy to fight with somebody. Even somebody at a good distance, by the time I tried to take a swing at them, they could close on me and grapple me, even if they were unarmed. It's not really what I would consider to be a dangerous weapon. It's an interesting weapon, and I had it because I have a real interest in sword play. But illegal? Put you in jail for walking down the street with it? I just don't understand. So, what are your thoughts on knife laws? And what are your thoughts about bad laws and good people? Just let me hear some of your comments. Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe, rate, comment. Thanks.